Welcome to the Village of Buchanan, October 24th, 2023 workshop meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so first we're going to for our workshop discussion. There's a discussion of AMS proposed site plan. So if you'd like to come up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Mark Weingarten. I'm a partner in the law firm of Del Bello, Dinellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Wiedeker. And it's my pleasure to be here this evening representing Buchanan DEV AMS LLC, a related entity of AMS Acquisitions LLC, in connection with its request for site development plan, special permit, and steep slopes approval to permit the construction of 148 multifamily homes on approximately 6-acre site located at the intersection of Albany Post Road and Craft Lane in Buchanan, New York. I'm joined, and you'll hear shortly, from Stuart Lax, the co-managing principal of Perkins Eastman, our architects, as well as Anthony Nestor from JMC, our engineers, and I believe Ryan Sutherland will be visiting us shortly. I will say, I did mention to them, this is the most prompt board I've ever dealt with, so I congratulate you. You start right on time. It's very impressive. Just a brief history, because I know some of this may seem like it's you've heard it before, but that's because we were before you previously when we went through the approval process on the rezoning. And as we said, once that rezoning was done and accomplished, and we're very fortunate, I see Ryan has joined us, and we were successful with that we needed then to come back to you for the site plan, which gives the more detail on the buildings itself, the special permit, the specific conditions that have to be met. And in this instance, the steep slopes permit, which is also before you. There is a related application that will be filed with the planning board within the next couple of days, which is the wetlands application that also has to go directly to the planning board. As you know, this that's before you today, when you're satisfied that the submission is complete, has to be referred to the planning board for their report and recommendation before you go ahead with anything that you're doing. So that's the next step in this process. So that pretty much is what's there. But the good news from our standpoint is that we did achieve the approvals, and we thank you for that, for the rezoning. So now the project that is before you is fully compliant with your zoning codes, because your zoning code has been changed. It contemplated this project, so we don't have to worry about any of the inconsistencies and things that we spoke to you about previously. Just as a reminder, before we go through the site plan itself, it's 148 luxury multifamily homes. There's 63 one-bedrooms. There's 85 two-bedrooms with upscale amenities in a 5-story building. The project contains a beautiful courtyard, an outdoor pool, a fitness center, a resident lounge, and it will have green features such as bicycle racks, energy-efficient appliances and lighting, water-efficient plumbing fixtures, and 12 electric vehicle stations in the parking lot. 223 parking spaces are provided. 149 of those spaces are provided in parking structured under the building. We believe strongly in this project. It will, if approved, develop a long vacant site beautifying the neighborhood. We will also build sidewalks as a pioneer of your plan for creating a new village-like atmosphere in the community for our residents and for those already here in Buchanan and for those coming in the future. The project is consistent, in our opinion, with your comprehensive plan, as you also ruled in our zoning request, and it does comply with all of the supplemental district regulations for the C1, C2 overlay district, as well as the specific special permit requirements of your code, which is one of the other approvals that we seek that is before you. We believe it creates a more diverse housing stock by adding multifamily apartments. It provides a transitional use between the R7.5 and the R10 located to the west of the site and the M1 district to the east. It creates physical and aesthetic improvements to the streetscape on Albany Post Road, which has been mentioned, and it is designed to preserve the natural features of the site. We believe that the project contains numerous benefits for the village. It generates significant net property tax benefits for both the village and the schools. We estimate approximately $830,000 a year in total property taxes with approximately $250,000 going to the village and $470,000 to the school. That's annual. It creates numerous construction jobs and activities. The local businesses will love the increase in sales from the construction workers. They will also benefit in the long term from the new customers moving in to become village residents. It creates, as I mentioned, a more diverse housing stock, a place for empty nesters to relocate from their single-family homes, divorcees to stay nearby the family home, and even more importantly, bringing people, new people with income to live in your village, and when they are ready to start a family, buying single-family homes in what becomes their hometown. This bolsters the single-family market long-term. It's going on all over Westchester County, and we'd like to bring it to Buchanan. In addition to the site plan and special permit approvals, we are also seeking a steep slopes disturbance permit. By locating the building in the center of the site, we have avoided disturbance to the maximum extent practicable. Again, we'll be showing you this pictorially. In addition to the approval sought here, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be seeking a wetlands permit before the planning board. That permit is required as a result of incursions into the wetland buffer only, not the wetland, just the buffer, to enable us to create a fire access lane on the southern portion of the building. And again, we'll show you that pictorially. And finally, as you were aware, this board concluded seeker when it adopted a negative declaration on September 5th of 2023, a negative declaration of environmental significance. I understand there's been a request in a memo from your planner that some of those documents be added on to this application. We have no objection, and we're happy to do that. For legal purposes, I will state for the record, everything that was before you on the zoning that was underlying the negative declaration is officially a part of your record, but we're happy to reprint it and give you those documents with response to this. But anything that's been before you that the negative declaration was based on, the traffic studies, all of those other things are part of the legal record that supports this application as well as it's a continuous application. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stuart Lax from Perkins Eastman, who'll walk you specifically through the site plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Madam Mayor, members of the board, Stuart Lax, co-managing principal with Perkins Eastman Architects, DPC, Stamford, Connecticut. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening again with you. These are the plans. These are presentation plans developed from the planar construction drawings that we submitted. The site plan showing the parking spaces, the outside parking spaces, approximately 74 surface parking spaces, including the 12 or so electric vehicle spaces, as well as a little over 150 spaces within the garage for the residents. 1.5 parking spaces total per unit. You can see in the beige, the C-shaped building that's been arranged around a courtyard where there'll be a landscape and an amenity pool for the residents, oriented to maximize the number of apartments with views towards the water feature just to the south. Next slide, please. So a zoning table, I won't go into the details. It is in the packet, in the submission package, other than to say we comply with all aspects of the zoning. This is the ground floor, a blow up of the ground floor. The small sort of purplish area in that bottom left corner is the lobby. We'll have some amenity spaces there, package room, the mailboxes, things like that. A grand staircase up to the lobby. Part of that will be a double height space. We've got some other support spaces downstairs, trash collection, utility rooms, move-in spaces, an elevator for move-ins, and then the parking spaces. And you can see some resident storage in that upper right corner. There's also some bike storage around as well within the garage. This is the first residential floor. Again, that area showing at this point just the area of where we'll have the various amenities, maker space, community room, fitness center, things like that. We're still tweaking the exact layout, but they will fit within that space. And then apartments surrounding the rest of the courtyard. And then if you go up to the upper level, just for a moment. Yeah, no, you can go to there. Yeah, just to include, we showed in the plans, we're just showing the spaces for each of the 1 and 2 bedrooms. These are our plans, and again, this is in the packet. Most typical 1 and 2 bedrooms to give you a sense of the layouts that we're doing. Most, not quite all of the 2 bedrooms will be 2 bedroom, full 2 bath. We're looking for walk-in closets, washer dryers, all that. Making these market competitive. Have to include these amenities, and many of the units have balconies as well. Next slide, please. So I have all 3, but second, third, and fourth floors really repeat themselves. The units stack. That's part of the benefits of the construction type. It keeps it efficient as it goes up. We can keep going. Just to give you a flavor of the elevations, this again was part of the packet. We're still finalizing some of the elements of the building elevation, but it gives you a good flavor of what we're seeking and some of the precedent images that we're using as inspiration points. As we make those final tweaks to the elevations. But if you go ahead, I've got some not quite final. You can go ahead. Thank you. Of the elevations, this is the entry elevation here with the entrance, and then the east side, which faces the power lines, and this continues. Next sheet will show you the west sides. That faces 9, the road, and then the south elevation facing the water, and then we've got a sheet, actually 2 sheets because they didn't fit on one. That would be the inner courtyard. So the design themes wraps not just around the building, but within the courtyard, and seeking ways to sort of break up the building, a variety of masses and forms, so that it is not a long monolithic. And this is section, and I included this just again to show you on the right-hand side how the building is built up into the hill on the power line side, and then open in the garage at the ground level. We've got extra height based on conversations with the fire department in terms of 14-foot clear to clear to give some extra height within, as both allows us our lobby space to feel a little bit more grander at that ground floor, and then give extra height for equipment in the garage. And then we've also got a little extra height on the first floor. Again, so our amenity spaces become somewhat premium units with a little extra height within the apartments, but still within the 65-foot height limit of the zoning. And that's really my portion of the presentation. I'll hand it over to Anthony Nestor, who will talk about some of the civil details, and that's a different PDF in his set, in what we gave you.
Okay, come.
Show me this one.
This one? Large. No?
Nope.
Individual PDFs? No, there's other.
Combined.
This one?
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees, village staff, consultants. My name is Anthony Nestor with the firm of JMC. We're the project engineers and landscape architects and the surveyors on the project. So as Mr. Weingarten mentioned earlier, I'm just going to start here with regards to the steep slopes plan and the steep slopes permit required. This plan kind of represents the yellow areas are slopes that are 15 to 30% in grade, and the orange areas are slopes that are 30% and greater. So you can see we try to place the building centrally in the site where it's a lot flatter to minimize the impact to the steep slopes. But based on these development plans, the disturbance to the slopes that are 15 to 30% is about 8.5% of the total site, and the slopes that are 30% or greater are approximately 7.3% of the overall site. So let me just go to the next one. So this is just a copy of our layout plan, which I just kind of want to run through quickly. So the main access to the project is going to be through a 26-foot wide road off of Craft Lane to the north. And as you can see here, which comes into here. So that driveway continues south, where majority of the surface parking is provided, down below to the west side, up along Route 9A. Access to the building, you would have to turn west, where there's kind of like a turnaround area up on top, where there's a small drop-off lane provided, and it just continues around in a circle and comes back down into the parking lot and access back onto Craft Lane. This plan does show the 74 parking spaces that are on surface, which is all along here, and there's some handicap parking up there, where also all the EV charging station spaces are located on grade and outside of the parking garage. This, I don't know if you can zoom in, Marcus, to the center of the building, but I know we were talking about the amenity spaces on the first level. So this plan does show a little bit more developed plan with regards to some of the common spaces that's going to be placed up on top of the parking structure, which includes a pool, like a barbecue area, gathering places, which tables and chairs, as well as some spaces, whether it's, for bathing, sitting out there, artificial turf areas and things like that.
You want to zoom in more?
No, I think that's good. So you can see here, I don't know if I can keep on going through here or not, but this would be the pool area here. This is the main entrance out of the common space here. There's all tables and chairs, barbecue spaces. There's some fire pits and pergolas and lawn areas or artificial turf areas for people to sit and relax. If you can go to the next plan. So this plan just represents our grading plan that shows, that shows some of the proposed grades with regards to the parking areas and how we're going to, you shift the sheet. That's okay, you can leave it on this one, actually. So this is our utility plan that shows all the infrastructure from the street that serves the building. So you can see in green is the storm drainage. The blue areas are the water distribution system. The red is the sanitary sewer. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but some of the yellow and orange areas are the electric and gas that come from Craft Lane and also from Route 9. What I want to do also is on the storm drainage has been designed in accordance with the village's code. We are currently finishing up the SWIP, which is part of the requirements, but the system has been designed with inverts and pipe sizes and things like that. And it's designed to, you can see in the south area behind the building here, and also to the northeast over here. Majority of the stormwater is going to be handled and collected underground, where it's going to be held back, treated, and then, discharged at a rate that doesn't exceed existing conditions, so that this way stormwater works. Part of the green practices that we're doing is on the courtyard itself, there's going to be planters, per se, almost like a green roof, but it's brought down to the deck level, where a majority of the roof is going to be captured in downspouts and brought to stormwater planters in order to treat the water and help dissipate some of the pollutants and hold back the water as well, which then gets, carried through pipes beneath the garage and then out into the system itself. If you want to go to the next sheet. So this is the plan. This red highlighted area shows fire access for fire vehicles. And the main access would be from Craft Lane through our driveway, which is 26 feet wide. But we also are providing an emergency access off of Route 9 here, which will be done in like a grasscrete area. So it's not going to be like just a paved swath coming from Route 9. So the sidewalk will still be part of the plans with regards to the, walkability and pedestrian access along Route 9A. But the plan is to have and maintain a 26-foot wide road all the way up to as far east to the building as possible, and provide a turnaround here. And also there's a connection that goes from north to south, where we also have another access road that parallels the back of the building.
What's the width of the road?
So right now, this road here here is 26, and back here is 26. This is the section of road that would be 20.
There's gonna be trees on the side of that?
There's trees between that access road and the area behind the hardware store.
Just curious why we lost the 6 feet for the apparatus to try to work in that 20-foot. It's a little tight for a truck, isn't it? Not a truck or anything?
Yeah, you know, the way we had this design was to try to meet the intent of the fire code, which requires at least aerial access to one complete side of the building, which we thought we provided by providing this whole access way here on one complete side of the building. But obviously, we need to work with the fire department. And
Yeah, and we talked about this afternoon, and we have a memo that that brought up some of these things that we just saw this afternoon. We are looking at engineering it to move the building slightly up, to create the footage so that we can come with it. It's a little more complicated than just drawing the line,
Oh, yeah.
so, but we're doing it. So the fire department has made the request. We are looking at it. We are going to get as much space in there as we can, and then we're going to come back and report to you. We hope to be able to get to 26. And if we don't, we'll have conversations with you, but that's what our goal is right now. We're working on that feverishly. I can tell you we're working on it today.
Oh, thank you.
And I think, Marcus, if you want to, unless there's no other questions on this, I'm sure there would be, but, and
You have more.
yeah, I'm almost done. This plan just illustrates maneuverability of the trucks going in and out of the site, so how they would exit, and how they would get to each part of the building to show that the curb is provided so that they wouldn't be running over curbs, parking spaces, and things like that.
What's the garbage collection going to be? I was just thinking about that as well.
Garbage collection, if you want to go back one plan, is going to be done in this area here, off to the side. So garbage is going to be done, the day garbage comes. They're going to take the dumpsters out, garbage truck's going to come, and they're going to put them right back inside the building. So it's not going to be a permanent, obstruction in that area. So that's where that would be.
Okay, thank you.
So on days where there's no garbage collection, they're kept underneath the parking garage? In the parking
Correct.
garage?
There's those interior rooms that Mr. Lax talked about, amenities, not as amenity spaces, but service areas and things like that. It's going to be held in there.
Great.
Can we show this on this side also?
Oh, it's not on that side?
It's not on?
Oh,
Just to
Oh,
pinpoint
oh,
the garbage.
garbage?
Yeah.
Easy.
It's going to be up in this area.
Actually, here, wait. I'll give it more fine tuning. This is the trash room.
I had to go old school, I don't have a laser pointer. Excuse me. So Marcus, if you can just go to the next plan. And the last plan, I believe, is just like an overall landscaping plan.
That's the last slide, right?
That's the last one?
That's the last one.
Okay. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, it's a large file.
Resolution, that's why.
So this plan just represents the overall landscaping plan. There was a detailed landscaping plan that was part of the package being submitted. But it does show enhancement of the area along the east side of the project up against Route 9. Trees and landscaping within the end islands. There is going to be a landscape island separating the parking in there. And I know there's going to be, in part of the submission package that Mr. Weingard mentioned with regards to the wetland disturbance, there'll be a detailed plan that shows, mitigation within that area up along the north side of the pond. And I think that's all I have, if there's any questions.
So as I said earlier, for the work session today, our goal was to go through the plan and detail it to you to explain what we have submitted. This is where we are seeking site development plan and special permit and steep slopes approval. In order for that to occur, we need to go to the planning board. The planning board needs to take us through all these documents and see when they're satisfied, and when they are and we're finished with them, we will come back to you. We did receive a memo from your planner today that requested certain information. No issue. We will put that information together. The SWIP, I think we said we should have by the end of the month, or
Correct.
within the next 10 days. The SWIP will be finished. As he said, we were working on that. So the main items that have been requested already exist, or will exist in the next few days. So we're anxious, and we're hoping that you will refer us out to the planning board. Of course, if you have any questions, we'll be answering them. And then when we are finished with the planning board, we will be back to you, and you will be holding public hearings and before any decisions are made. So that's the process.
I did get a chance to quickly look through this. I just have a few questions, and I'll have more questions during the site plan. But when you're talking about the apartments, are there going to be any apartments that are going to be handicap accessible or senior friendly? And, you know, it doesn't have to be like to code, but sometimes
You know,
some
I
of the
understand.
older people will need, you know, the wider bathroom doors or the bedroom doors.
Actually,
or-
we're required by code to make all of the apartments
Oh, okay.
handicap accessible. So they will all have wider
Good.
doors, and they will have the necessary clearances within the bathrooms.
Good. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
That's state code?
State code.
State code.
Okay, good.
Interesting.
And so you're only missing a few documents, to complete the application, the wetlands,
The wetlands will be filed within.
in a couple days, you
if you-
said?
Yeah,
Okay.
within,
All right.
certainly within the week, and very possibly by the end of the week. We were working on that today.
Okay.
And
was there
again, that
something
goes
else?
directly to the planning board,
Right,
not
that
to
goes
you.
to the
That goes
planning board
directly
because
to the planning board.
reviews the.
Correct.
Were there any other documents otherwise?
Yes, so as part of the submission package, I think Mr. Weingart had mentioned it earlier, they're working on, or maybe it was Mr. Nestor, they're working on the stormwater pollution prevention
Right,
plan, the
okay.
SWIP.
Mhm.
So that actually, that's an important piece of information that needs to be included.
Okay.
As Mr. Weingarten had indicated, there's some other reports that are parts of the requirements for the special permit and site plan that have been prepared as part of the zoning review. And all we're asking is just to include those as part of the submission package. so
Happy to
that-
do it.
So when the public is looking at the
Mhm.
application, they actually see all the different components that are required as part of the application process. And then there's some other minor items, like including a survey, and I'm assuming that you have that already, but that's part of the site development plan requirements. Other than that, there are some, I've started to go through and make some preliminary comments on the site plan, but I think, as Mr. Weingarten had referenced, there is a referral that needs to be made to the planning board. I think we discussed this as part of the process. The planning board meets on the 13th, right? So I think it would be appropriate, and that would be my suggestion, is to make a formal referral of the application at this point, as it stands, to the planning board, and allow them to do kind of their due diligence on your behalf, and then report back to you. And at that point, we can begin to discuss the completeness of the applications and scheduling a public hearing.
And we will certainly supplement the application prior to the planning board meeting, for sure.
So that's your recommendation?
Yes.
And that's what you're hoping that we'll send it to the planning board?
Correct.
And so,
Be careful what you wish for, right?
this is true, this is true. So, what's the board's pleasure? Would you like to send it to the planning board?
Yeah, I have no further comments. I appreciate you coming in with the presentation. I think now is the appropriate time to turn the project over to the planning board and let them review it, ask their questions, and provide their input.
I agree. I look forward to moving forward and seeing what we have in store.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark, thanks for coming in. I'm excited to look at the site plan and get started on this, and look forward to hearing what the planning board has to come back with, and we can move forward. Thank you.
I agree with that also.
All right, thank you.
Do you need a vote, David, for a
To
referral?
To refer to the planning board.
It's really your, I don't know what policy you have, if you want to make a formal motion, or if it's just, you know,
Make
you're
a
making.
motion to,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to make a motion to forward this to the planning board for review with other information that will be sent to them
With
shortly.
supplemented, right,
Right.
both to you and to them, correct.
Right.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you,
Mark.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
I'm going to go a little out of order. I have our Bob Outhouse here, our chief of the fire department, and I know Bob, and would like to discuss the fire truck and what's going on with that.
Thank you, Mayor. Usually when you see me now in the last month, it's usually not smiles, because it's talking about spending money. When I was here last month for capital projects, we discussed the 32-year-old 1991 Pierce that failed its yearly pump test. After a little more in-depth with the maintenance firm that does the Pierce work for us, it failed the portion of the test, which is the 10% override. It will pump at its 1250 capacity, but there's no guarantee that somewhere down the road this fails in the next 6 months. So after looking at that, there becomes a liability issue for the fire department and the village. So we met with Trustee Stewart the other night, and we explained our situation with him. And I think it's prudent, although I don't like to spend the money, this is an emergency repair that needs to be done to the apparatus. This is not a refurb. This is an emergency repair to keep this apparatus running for the next possibly 36 months based on, manufacturing of a new engine. So I know that tonight you may discuss that. I'm here to support that decision for the board. That emergency repair has to be done. So if there's any questions from the board, trustees, I'll certainly take them now.
And so Bobby did present us with a written estimate, not as detailed as we would like, but we have a pretty good idea of what the cost of repair is going to be. So we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $21,000.
Bob,
Correct, Bob?
you said in the past that the pump you weren't able to get parts for the truck. Was it the truck or the pump that you weren't able to get parts for?
Well, it's a two-phase situation. So the 91 Pierce body chassis is 32 years old. Those parts are hard to find. We had broken an interior door handle, which took, 5 weeks to find somewhere in California. So the parts for that truck are not readily available and may not be available in the future. However, when you talk about the pump part, those pumps, whether they're 32 years old, they're basically made the same way in all the fire trucks. It's, there's either Hale as a manufacturer or Watrous. We have a Watrous pump. Those parts are available to replace that. Now, it's just like when you open up your house and you want to do some work. If something else you find, it may cost you a little more money. We're hoping that when he opens this pump up, this is a straight, what they call impeller replacement, gaskets, et cetera there. So hopefully it's pretty standard. They just did one for another fire district not too long ago, and I think it wound up pretty close to what they said, 18,000. So we could save a little money. This is probably the worst case scenario at this point. But it's a pretty standard, replace the impeller, labor, gaskets. So that's why it's really not, labeled there, Trustee Stewart, on the proposal.
Right, understood.
No, that's good. I'm clear on that. That's all I want to know, because we spoke about the not being able to get parts. And I know pumps are pumps, and I'm glad that we can rehab the pump to keep the truck rolling until we can figure out what we're doing for a new truck.
And the reason for that is, too, that it showed its face about a week and a half ago when the new truck had to go out for maintenance. So that left that 1991 as your main attack truck to this village. And the main attack truck that's going to, provide safety for our firefighters to get in to a scene first. So it needs to be done.
Yeah, and as Bobby was saying too, when we met, it forces you to rely on mutual aid, which isn't always reliable. So this is an issue that, it's got to be addressed.
And you're correct, Danny, that mutual aid, our mutual aid companies are great around here. They're great all over. As you see the future, more people are working, you know. It's not that it's just the time we're in. And I don't think any fire chief would say, Chief, we're going to get you an engine. I don't think they can say that today. And I can't say that to them either. We'll try, but it's not something you want to rely on. So we got to take care of ourselves. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Well, I'm not going to speak for the board, but I can see it's worth investing into repairing it.
Absolutely.
Is the board in agreement that we can go forward with?
So
Yes, I'm
financially,
sorry.
I want to put it clear, if we're going to repair out of regular operations, there's no resolution required from the village board. But if you want to use the fire department reserve account, then I need a motion to take the money out of that account. So is that your pleasure? We could do either one. So we can take out of regular operations and then see how we stand, and we can take money later on, or we could take out of the fire department reserves right now. It depends on what the board would like to do tonight.
How quickly do you want to get that repaired?
Quickly?
Yeah.
I mean,
Take
ASAP.
out of
I-
operational, there's no action from the board.
Okay.
It's just so
All
that you know what we're doing. Okay.
And the reserve, just to be clear, Marcus, that's money that's being set aside towards the new engine, correct? So
Yeah, that money reserved for emergency, for repairs or for a new agent, the board has full control of how that money to be used.
And just to comment on, you know, whatever you put into it, if you put, let's just say $21,000 into it, talking with what will happen with it in the future and how we sell it or auction it off, you may see some of that return, you may not see all of it.
correct.
But if you sold a truck or auctioned it off with a failing pump, it's probably not worth anything.
Right.
Right.
So,
It's a life safety concern. I don't think there's
Absolutely.
a question. It needs to be done, and
Yeah.
we should get it
Absolutely.
done immediately.
So Owen needs a PO from you tomorrow, and Sharon will take care of it.
let me know. I'll be here tomorrow morning.
And Bob, while you're there, I was going to
Sure.
bring this up later, but I'm glad you're here. I know we had a conversation about our cell, or lack of cell service here in the village. And I had spoken to Bob, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I ran into him. And he said something about the village of Croton is looking into upgrading or bumping up their cell phone service. And I know trustee Len Simon is in charge of that. So I had a quick conversation with him at a WMOA meeting. But my understanding what Croton wants to do is they're not looking to put more towers in. So they've hired a company to look at their cell phone service. When I get some more information, I'll bring that back to the board, because that was one of the conversations we also had, right, Bob, at the, when I had the meeting last week with Cider and Donuts with the mayor. And we had a really good turnout, but a lot of the people were commenting how bad our cell phone service is, especially by the highway department, the village circle, and even upper Buchanan. So I think that's something the board has to work on also, and I know you've had some issues that you had mentioned.
Absolutely. And just to tell you how bad it is, we have to use, recently we've installed some iPads with cell service in all our cars so we can receive the alarms. And one of our chiefs had to use the hotspot to make a phone call in an emergency for one of our members. The cell service in the village of Buchanan is not great. And we use our cell phones to call fire control. We use our cell phones to call whatever we need. I may have to talk to DEC on the phone. No cell service. It is bad in the village. I know the residents have complained. Well, here we are, the first responders, and we can't even get cells when we need them. I'd be more than happy to try to figure out a way and work with the board or committee. First responders are the first priority, and if cell service. And I know everybody else has a problem. So if we can figure out how to get cell service in the village for the first responders, and everybody else will just be right behind us because they'll get it too. But it is terrible. It is terrible. Multiple sections of the village.
It wasn't always great. I think it's just gotten worse for some reason. And I know the town was putting up a cell tower near the Montrose Firehouse there, off on one of those roads, and I don't know if they followed through on that, because I had hoped that would help us, it would bump our service up, but I don't know what happened.
So I do know that the county is going to put a tower in for the new radio system on county property in the Montrose Station Road area.
Maybe
which-
that's what that
Which is
was.
going to benefit our radio transmission with the county and our paging. By 2024, as you may know in the budget, when we do the budget, we are replacing pagers for the last 2 years now. And that will finally come to fruition here in 2024 when they turn that paging system over. Right now, there's sometimes in the village, I get no reception on my pager. So that tower is needed. Will the county allow a cell company to come in and put a repeater on there or some type of antenna? I don't know. But that's something to look at. But we do need to better that. And if everybody was by their phones in the areas of the village when they did a national test, where there's bad cell service, I think everybody got that. And I think it came from a satellite because that's how good the satellites are today. So everybody got that, even in the poor cell service areas.
Not everybody.
There you go. First ones I heard that didn't get it.
Yeah.
Where were you? Were you here? There you go.
Say,
We got, yes, that's the issue.
that's another important safety issue. It just has to be addressed. And
So-
also the service.
I'm willing to lend any kind of hand I can when it comes to cell service, because I do believe that first responders need it, not only ourselves, PD, EMS. It is a big concern.
So if we form a committee, we definitely want you on the committee,
Sure,
because we definitely
sure.
need to look at that.
I'd like to look into it.
And I think, at one point, Marcus, didn't you call the cell phone companies? What was the,
Verizon said they're gonna look at some coverage areas, but I'll reach out to them again. I'll reach out to both AT&T.
Yeah,
and
they're always
Verizon.
looking for areas.
Yes,
to add on to, whether it's adding to existing locations or putting up
Right.
new towers.
correct.
So there are a couple of providers that we have to look at, right? Verizon, T-Mobile, which is Sprint, AT&T.
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
If you could check on that,
Yeah,
Marcus, to see,
absolutely.
and just say we're having an issue now, a safety issue within the village with
Yep.
our first responders.
So I guess it's safe to say then that Bob can move forward with the necessary repair for,
Yeah, I think
truck?
we're
So
all
is that,
in agreement, right?
Because
is
I
there
know-
something special I have to do tomorrow with you?
Just do a PO and give it to Sharon. and
So I need a PO from,
From the mechanic shop for the $20,000.
oh, okay, okay.
That's all.
I'll have him do one tomorrow.
is this good enough, Marcus? Just like,
Here, pass that over.
because Bobby wants to get this scheduled too, because you gotta work with their schedule.
That's good.
That's
We can use
good.
that for the PO.
So he's-
Yep.
So I'll call him tomorrow morning and order the parts.
There you
Yep.
go, Bob.
So just tell you the timeline to finish
They'll
that?
give you a PO number, so that way they refer to a PO number. So call
Okay.
Sharon in the morning, she'll
Okay.
give you a PO number.
Okay. It is a couple of weeks to get the parts, and it's a couple more weeks to do the truck.
Yeah,
So out of that time frame, we will be relying on mutual aid
yeah.
to
and-
support us while that engine is down.
Yep, so let's hope the new engine's in good shape and it's, nothing
hope it
happens
is.
there, so,
Yeah, I hope it is.
but, yeah.
How long did they say it would take to repair it once they start?
A couple weeks to order, a couple
Oh,
weeks to
okay.
repair it. So they will not
Okay.
we will not take the truck out of service until they have the parts, and then it'll go up to Patterson, New York until it's done. I'm hoping if your pleasure tonight, which we got, it could probably be done in the early part of December.
Okay. All right, well,
Get on that,
get
chief.
that, yeah, get it
We're on
rolling.
it.
Well, I do think that,
Perfect.
it's great that we're getting this truck repaired. But I really think that we as a board have to really start thinking about how we're gonna replace that truck in the future. Because
Yep.
they're not getting any cheaper. Dan and I spoke with
And
Bobby
Bo-
about that the other night, last week, whenever it was. And we're gonna have to figure out a way to do this one way or the other, because sooner or later it's going to be replaced.
And
Kicking the
Bobby's
can
got
down the
some,
road's not gonna fix it.
yeah, and Bobby's got some things in play with a committee that you're forming to look into all
Right.
that, so that's.
Right, so, the first thing was now this emergency repair. I'm hoping to meet with the committee within the next week, and there's some things we need to look at on both sides of the table with availability, cost. Again, I told you the last meeting, if we ordered a truck, no frills, it could take 36 months to get here.
Right.
And it's just the way it is. It used to take 12 months. Now it's 36 months.
And just to throw some financially on the board, if the board, just throwing it out there, if the board is considering doing something, depending on the time frame, this can be plugged in, we do a bond over a 2-year period. And we're talking about maybe a 1 or 1.5% increase over 2 years versus a 3 or 4% increase. So if the board, the earlier you tell me that we're gonna move forward, the faster we can plug it into a 2-year process. Even, give you an example. If we did a band, for example, the band, we could skip the first year payment, can't take us to the second year, so we can, be a little bit proactive and have less of an impact to the public if we plan it out. So I just want to throw that out there. Steve understands, I think everybody understands that as well. So we just need to get direction from you guys, and I can work with the numbers and give you options.
And I will tell you immediately when I do get a phone call that if something is fast-tracked, which could be 9 months, that is basically a no-frills truck, no extras, and the cost is lower. If it meets our needs, that may be something we need to jump on. However, the legal paperwork on that has to be done immediately because there's other people around the country that are probably looking for the same type of deal. So it's how fast we move on it. That may not come. So I'm going to give it probably November to see what comes in November and December, and then we'll start making our decisions with the committee. And we'll move forward and hopefully get back to you on what we're seeing and what we're looking at.
Haven't you bought off the floor at
Yes.
fire shows
Yeah.
that
So-
they have the?
So the other thing is we are going to a major show this year, which we've never been to before, in April. It's very possible, it's the largest show in the nation, that there'll be a truck there on the floor. Could be, and
It's a possibility.
that's actually how we bought the 91, was off the floor after the failure of the 81. So that's what we did, and we got a good price on that. When you buy from the floor, there's not much you can do to the truck. It is what it is, and you bring it home and put your name on it and pay the check.
Yeah. Well, something to think about, It's another
Absolutely.
option.
So we're moving in that direction. I thank Marcus for throwing it out there. The board needs us to really keep this moving in your heads and how you want to do this
Just keep us,
moving forward. So
Keep
something could
us
come down the
in the
pike in 2 weeks. I'll get to my trustees to get to you, Danny, and this is where we're at, so. Okay?
All right, Bob.
Great.
Thanks,
for
Bob.
coming
All
in.
right.
Thank you.
Seems like I spend a lot of money when I come to this podium all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like to do that, but it's important to keep the fire apparatus up and running.
Of course,
All
absolutely.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bob.
very much.
Thank you.
I'll call you tomorrow. Thank you.
I did better this time, right, Bob? I didn't leave you to the end, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so the next is a discussion of sale of the ice rink.
The gentleman here actually have the highest bid. We actually put the ice rink on Auctions International. The gentleman's here, he has the highest bid of $9,600. So we have the option either to move on, reject it, go into a different option. It's up to the board to make a decision if they want to do any of those options.
Since it's, would you prefer that it's discussed in executive session since we're discussing a negotiation?
That's correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So after the meeting, we go into executive session to discuss. But is there anything,
Yes.
while you're here, you'd like to say?
Sure, I'd love to, thank you.
Just
So-
state your name.
Yep, Barney Zipkin.
Okay.
So I'd like to say is that it was put to auction. We all know what an auction is, and it seems as if possibly the town wasn't satisfied with how much they got. In my experience of over 40 years buying and selling in auctions, I've never had that opportunity to take something back when I wasn't happy. Sometimes I've been really happy, sometimes not so happy. That's what an auction is. So I guess that's my first concern is how does that happen? My second concern is that from what I understand from Marcus, there was another municipality who presented an offer on the rink after the auction was closed, a couple days after, and that offer is being considered. I find that, and I was not notified as the successful bidder. It's only my perseverance that brings me here because that's who I am. But I find it odd that I wouldn't have been notified, hey, listen, you know, we understand you're the successful bidder. We are going to discuss the bid, and, you know, you kind of have right of first refusal, so to speak, if we do decide to sell it. So, of course, if you do decide to sell it, you're still going to have to pay Auctions International a commission. So remember, it's what you're getting minus the commission, and I'm willing to pay that fee, but I would hate to hear that you sold it to somebody else when I was the successful bidder and I wasn't involved in that.
And where would you be using this? Where?
Well, I had thought I was going to do free clinics. I live in Orange County in Montgomery. I'm born and raised in Ossining. I still work here. I do all the tree work for the town of Cortland. I'm a local person, but I do live in Orange County. On 12 acres, I have a full court basketball. I do things with the children. I have a lacrosse field. I've played lacrosse for 55 years. I do free clinics. I coach up there. So I said, hey, an ice rink, I can do, you know, offer that opportunity up there too. So that's what I would do with it.
All right, so we will definitely get back to you.
Okay, prior to making a commitment?
Either way.
Well, I
We
mean,
will,
well,
because we need to discuss it.
no, I
as
understand
a
that.
board.
I mean, if you want to commit it to me, that's great. You don't have to call me ahead of time. Just call me and say, hey, listen, you know, we're going to give it to you for the 96, or, you know, we'll give it to you for another cost if you would like to, but I'd hate for you to call me and say, hey, we decided to sell it to somebody else because they offered me a little more. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
Fair?
Point taken, yes.
Fair.
Okay. Marcus, do you still have my contact
Yes, I do.
information?
Yes,
All
I
right.
do.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
Thanks
coming.
for coming in. Okay, next on the agenda, this is what Bob was talking, the lease agreement with the County of Westchester Department of Emergency. Is that for the police department?
That's correct, that's correct. So Shane provided this for you to have radio communication with the county. We have to do an IMA to be able to use the service, just like we do all the service with the IMA for services. So everybody else in the county is doing the same thing. So just to, at the next meeting, you can adopt the motion and adopt it.
All right, good. The approval of workplace violence prevention program?
Yeah, this is one of the, another, Cindy stepped out, one of the other policies for workers' comp, to be able to show that we're protecting individuals from workplace violence, the process that somebody feels they feel they have a workplace violence, how to report it, and the process to do so. Again, it's a federal and state requirement as well, so we want to make sure we meet all state and federal requirements. And we'll adopt it at the next meeting.
Okay, good. The next is a discussion on crosswalks. I had someone approach me about the crosswalk on, well, install a crosswalk on Buchanan and Kings Ferry and Tate and Kings Ferry. And I guess several times when people are walking there, the cars come very close to them. One person almost got hit. So, thank you for looking into that, Marcus, but this ended up not being something simple as just plain painting lines in the road.
That's right.
The Pandora box opens again.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus, do we have money, in our CHIPS money? What do we have in that to go towards?
We use most of that for the paving.
So we have nothing left?
No.
Because I was gonna say you could use it for the
Correct.
ramps.
Yep, correct. But if we want to look into it, I can get you the pricing, see if we can put into the budget, if that's what the board wants to do. I want to make sure that, you know, our traffic engineer signs off on it, that we meet all requirements, look at the, you know, the handicap crosswalks and everything else we have to do.
Yeah, the sidewalks that, and the handicap, that was all done by somebody else, right? That wasn't the
They're not
village.
ADA
They're
approved.
not ADA
But they're not,
approved.
Something
That's
that was recent, wasn't it?
on
Yes.
Albany
Yeah.
Post Road, the state.
I do have a
Yeah.
question on
got
myself,
money from
because
the
I know in the
state.
past when we've done roads and we've come across these areas with sidewalks and crossing a road, they've always put the ADA compliance ramps in then.
I don't know who did that. I really
Because I
don't
know
who
that we did
Yeah,
that
I'm
all
surprised they're
along. We
not-
did it on Albany Post Road and Lindsay Avenue.
Yeah,
last
that's-
year. That was always part of the project, so
That's
that
what
was something that
I
maybe slipped
don't
through the
know
cracks
who,
here.
yeah, I don't know who did the
Yeah.
The
crosswalks.
state did that. Sandy gave
Oh.
us money to do in front of the church and all those.
Oh, no, I'm saying, when we
Yeah.
did Lindsay Avenue, all those streets that crossed over with Craft Lane, they were all ADA compliant.
They're
That was
required
done when they
They're
did, I
required.
thought that was part of
They're
the project.
required to. You cannot put an ADA, you have to put ADA ramps.
Yeah, now you do,
Well, that's what I'm
yes.
saying, when we did that, that was part of the project when we redid the roads.
It's
So
just-
if
it's
we
a
had
state
Tate Avenue,
requirement.
excuse me, Bannon Avenue and Kingsbury, we could have done that, we should have, actually.
I don't know who did that work.
Bellotta did that work.
Who that?
A lot of construction.
Yeah.
At that time, it wasn't 88.
Then there were signals involved too,
okay.
which
It's not
is,
state
then
road.
now you start
It's not county road
big
either.
bucks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
village,
I thought George was usually on the ball doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, those are, you could pick, like you sent the list of ramps, and you could choose the ramp that that fits. It's only a one-way crossing, so you don't have to do the whole corner.
Mm-hmm.
And then just price it out if you want.
Yeah, I can price it out, okay,
Yeah.
if the board, if that's what you wanna, entertain, that's fine.
And then the striping has to just be compliant,
Yep,
and then you're good to go.
okay, I'll get you some prices, and you decide if you wanna do it.
And one thing that was mentioned also was vegetation, so that's something we can control. I mean, I know the leaves are falling off of everything now, but there is times it is a little bit of a sight distance when you get to that intersection,
Mhm.
so maybe
Yeah.
we could look at that.
Yeah.
Cut it
You
back.
normally
Yeah.
go back and tell people to cut the bushes back if it's growing into.
Well, there's a
the road.
sidewalk there.
Yeah,
Yeah, because when you get to that intersection of Bannon and Kings Ferry, it could be either left or right. Sometimes it's not so clear to see.
okay, so the board wants me to look at the pricing?
Yeah, if you
today?
could,
Okay,
yeah, that
no
would be
problem.
great.
Okay.
Well, some of that, Teresa, I believe some of that stuff that falls on the vegetation river across those sidewalks are really a homeowner's responsibility.
It is.
Yeah. But we could
You have to give them a reminder once in a while to do it, because I know in the past that we've done that. We've knocked on doors and said, listen, you can't see left or right on Kings Ferry Road.
We've had several already where people come in and complained, and I went and spoke with the owners, and they resolved the problem. They trimmed everything back like they're
We have
supposed
to
to.
trim them back off the sidewalk.
That's right.
Right.
It has to be maintained.
Yep. It just, Peter has to remind them.
All right, friendly reminder, right,
Yeah,
Peter?
that's what we call it.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so the next is a discussion on winter parking.
I believe that falls on me.
Yep,
So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just trying to come up with something that works for the community. And if it doesn't work, then we leave it the way it is. I just had an idea, because our winters have been less harsh and the parking problem on the, parking overnight parking, I know it's a problem for some it's not. They are used to it now, but some people do complain about having to move their cars every night because of the winter regulations and the restrictions on parking. So I tried to come up with an idea, and a few years ago I brought this up on the board, and it was shot down. But if there was some way that we could send out a notification of the impending storm, the length of the storm, the time, so it's a robocall that goes out to every community member saying that no parking from 12 to 12 the next day, it not only does it help the DPW, because right now we're helping the DPW at night. We're not helping them during the day. I know a lot of people go to work during the day, I get it, but still, a lot of people call in sick when it snows. And, it just keeps the roads clear for a certain period of time, just so they can do their job. And I don't think that there's much that the police have to do differently, or there's much that the DPW has to do different. If anything, this helps the DPW. It helps our community. It's just an idea I had, just to update the program, not to change it, just to update it, make it a little bit more accommodating for the residents. And I would personally I hear from the public. I like the public to come in here and just tell me, what they would like. I mean, if this is a situation that needs to be changed, I believe it is. I believe it's something that needs to be updated, and I'd like to see a change for it so we can accommodate people. I don't want everybody parking on the street, but I do know that, it becomes a hassle when your kid brings his friend over, because I have a lot of kids, and he leaves his car out in the street, and they get tickets, and you have your friend come over, stays over for the night, they don't realize that, it becomes a hassle. So if we can just update the program or think about it, and maybe the public can share a little info, maybe they have some ideas, maybe we can get started on that. I know it's getting close to the snowy season, so maybe for next year.
well, you know what, you could always try, the Farmer's Almanac, first of all, is saying we're supposed to have a lot of snow this winter, but, they've been known to be wrong. But I mean, if the board wants to, you could try it, and then use the code red, and if it doesn't work, then you gotta go back to a different plan.
We have to make some implications, like for for the adjudication end of it, you know what I mean? Where the police then do get involved, and that's, you know, that's a slippery slope too. You don't wanna put people into a financial, situation because they parked the car, so. I mean, we really have to do some research on it. I'm willing to help out on it. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal to most, but I think it helps the community. I think it's antiquated, it needs to be updated. That's pretty much it.
And if I may, I did talk to the police chief about this as well, and Anthony, you made a good point that people have people staying over. So the chief did say that, you know, we're a family-oriented kind of community. If anybody calls the police department, lets them know I got family over, this is my license plate, or this is my car in front of a house, the police will not ticket. So I just want to make sure the
They've been
public
good.
understands
Yeah,
that,
they've been
that, you know, if that happens, please to contact the police department 24/7, let them know, and they're not going to issue a
Yeah.
ticket. So just want to throw that out there as you're working whatever other options you want to be, so people understand that.
Yeah, Shane did explain it to me. He gets a lot of calls saying that
Yes.
I have no place to put my car. You know, I have a family member visiting, I have no place to put the car, and it hasn't snowed for 2 months, you know, and, you know, we'll see. Let's try and get something together.
Okay.
You know, if it works, it's great.
Whatever the board's pleasure is.
Well, I just might as well let my feelings be said right now. The board knows how I feel about this. I was a highway foreman for 7 years, worked for the village for 25 years. And, you know, most people, when it snows, even during the day, they keep, actually, they put their cars out, off the road. They don't want the plows to hit them, they keep them out of the way.
And the salt.
I just think it's
Yeah.
worked great, and I think we're gonna need a public hearing to change this, correct? Isn't it a code change?
Yeah, the coaching.
So if we do it,
Yeah.
we're never gonna get it back. Because communities will die to have this on their books. Because look at Peekskill, look at some of these towns that, Croton,
Yeah, but you're gonna.
they're just there, cars are there in the way. 3 days goes by, the cars finally move, then you got ice piles in the middle of the road. It's just hard to dress up the road and get them cleaned up for your drainage, for your safety of the fire vehicles, police vehicles to get through. I'm just, you know, I'm all for hearing what the public has to say about it, but I know something's been working very well, and I do know firsthand what Marcus was saying. You have some family over or something like that for a holiday. I made phone calls to police myself. I don't want to say it because I don't know if I should, but I
fine.
called up and asked, listen, this is what's going on.
Absolutely, it's fine.
I have some people here, you know, and they're, like Marcus said, we're community orientated with that, in that aspect. So I just think it's a problem that really isn't as severe as it really seems to be, I guess. Because I've worked here for 25 years, like I said earlier, and I can't remember one time someone complained to me about having to have the cars off the road. I've had people say, oh, I gotta switch the cars around. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. I do it. You know, when you have 2 kids home and you gotta shuffle your car, who goes first and who doesn't, and here and there, but I just think that, you know, I think we get caught up in the, what happens overnight and day shift type of thing. Nighttime's great when you're plowing at night. There's no cars on the road, that's great. Daytime, the biggest problem for the daytime is when people start cleaning the cars on the road, after you've cleaned them. But most people do get their cars out of the road. I for one, am not leaving my car on the road when the salt truck's coming down the road. Or a plow's going down the road and clips my truck or the mirror. There are things that I'm sure if you talk to other communities, there's probably an issue that they get with some insurance claims.
This would
I mean-
keep the cars off the road for the duration of the storm.
Yeah, that.
Right, no, I understand that, but sometimes you can't predict storms.
Well, that's why you
Yeah.
make the duration longer,
Yeah,
you know?
And that's why I think the police chief
Yeah,
also
right. I
mentioned,
think, yeah.
if the police chief also mentioned, if we're going to go in that direction, that the fine, the ticket should be a little higher than what it is right now to enforce that against them. So the DPW and the police will do whatever the board wants. We just maybe we have some teeth behind it so
Right.
people don't take advantage of the situation.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I thought you had a discussion, Steve.
Yeah, I had a discussion with Shane, he's open to any of our suggestions. I personally feel, you know, just to say, you know, once the calendar flips over to a certain date, that everybody has to be, you know, automatically off the roads when there's no snow, you know, in sight. And then you have people that are parking on the front lawns or side lawns, or they're trying everything they can just to get off the street when there's no snow, you know, for a couple months. I think the objective is to have all the cars off the road while there's a storm. We just have to have the right method to notify the residents and make sure that they comply.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, just out of curiosity, we did a code red today. Did anybody get it?
No.
Anybody in the audience get the code red?
No, and when you do make
Oh,
this
come to the mic.
close,
I did.
there's no,
I got
there's no message.
But Steve, I do understand, I hear you
I got it.
100% what you're saying there, but right now, to be honest with you, I can remember one time that any residents got a ticket, even when they were in the road. They were more or less warned about it. If you make a phone call, they move it. If we're gonna change it to something like that, to make that work, then we're gonna have to ticket them.
Oh, yeah.
That's, you know,
Well, there's also probably roads that it's just not conducive in.
Right.
So like Tate Avenue in Westchester and Lindsay, probably,
Yes.
you would have to look at those very carefully and say, you probably can't do it there. But, you know, I'm open to listening to whatever people have to say on it.
How
So-
many people have complained? Like, how many people have approached the board? Just curious.
I can tell you this, when I was running and going door to door, I probably had 3 or 4 people that had brought it up,
Okay.
so.
So do we think it's 10 to 15 people that it affects?
And I think it's like what Steve says, is those people that are trying to do whatever they can to get the car off the road, right? That just don't have the space,
Yeah, there's some properties like that,
so-
yeah.
you know.
And I think on a given summer night, there probably isn't that many cars that park on the road anyway.
Yeah, I
So
would have to agree.
I don't know how much of an issue it would really be if we properly notify the residents and do it on a, conservative basis. It says it's gonna snow, Thursday, put it out tonight and say, hey, Thursday. get
I agree
everybody
with
off.
that, in the sense that I guess we can look at some of the problem areas, which cul-de-sacs are a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Sunnyside place is a problem. Those types of roads are definitely problems, because people do leave their cars in the cul-de-sacs. They block their driveways from the snow plows.
Yeah.
You know, they want the snow.
Just think
rolled.
there's gotta be a creative way.
Yeah, I mean, we
To
can give
solve
the
this.
people options on side streets to park. Keep it off the snow evacuation routes would be like Tate, Westchester, and Lindsay, and maybe give an option where they could park in each area of the village that would be suitable, off the main road. I don't know, we could be creative as a board, and that's all I'm asking for.
So, but I do agree with you, Bob, it's worked over the years. So I understand what you're saying, because I go to other communities like Peekskill where it's alternate side part, well,
It's
Marcus
terrible.
lives in Peekskill, so he knows. I had a couple properties in Peekskill, it was horrendous.
I mean, you're talking about
but you want-
multifamily homes, though. Yeah. A lot of them.
Well, some shouldn't be, but some are, yes.
No, all I can say from the Peace Corps point of view, I live in a nice residential area, I do, but there's people that park and don't get tickets, and they park there all the time, and the plow goes around those cars, so.
And it's a mess.
So the
yeah.
most important thing is enforcement.
Right.
So if people know they get a ticket and don't get away with it, it'll clean up the road. So that's, I do agree with the police chief, the enforcement is the most important part of it, that's all.
Well, we can talk about it, and we can see,
I'll keep an open mind.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's hard, because
I
you
always
plowed
have
for
one.
so
Yeah.
long, you
I know.
gotta go around the cars.
Bob lived the life.
Actually, I didn't really have to go around cars.
Yeah.
Around some people drive.
During the
But,
day.
you know, occasionally there's someone in the way, but for the most part, the village has been very, you know, being an employee here for 25 years, and even the guys that worked here before me, that was one thing they're very proud of.
Yeah.
That they can get these roads cleared, and that does make it a lot easier, no doubt about that.
Yeah, and the residents notice that too, because I know when there's no cars, you can plow curb to curb, so
And
we're
we-
always cleaned up right away.
And I don't know how many years ago it was that we did change it from November to December,
Yeah.
you know, so.
November
there's
15th,
reasons
then it
for
went to
changing things, no
December
doubt about
1st.
that. I do understand that, but, you know, I'll try to keep an open mind.
If it
Okay.
only snowed at night, we'd
Okay.
be fine.
Yeah,
that's right.
be all good,
Highway guys would like that.
all good. Okay, the next is discussion on section 129, peddlers and junk dealers. The fine is currently $10.
Yeah, so.
Dan, you have something to share with us?
No, just that I was amazed at how low the fine was, but,
Yeah, there's
Say that again?
10 American dollars.
10 American dollars.
For, if you're fined for peddlers and junk dealers, under section 129-7.
And when
So
you're
in
saying
other
peddler-
words, if Sunrun is going around canvassing your neighborhood, okay, and they don't have a permit,
Well, I got a peddler, I know that.
okay,
I junk dealer?
Well, that's probably outdated
That's
because
very
Cindy.
outdated.
that's
Cindy-
how old the code is,
And
okay?
you would remember too, there was a guy that used to drive around with cowbells on the truck,
Selling
and
wooden
if you
furniture.
yelled junk, he would stop and he would, yeah. Okay, so it goes back a little
So
ways.
Cindy, when you talk about peddlers, we're really talking about the people going around trying to
Door to
sell
door.
stuff door to door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the perfect example, one of the police officers got somebody who didn't get a permit, and the fine was $10. So there is no punishment for do that. So
Right.
it actually came from the police department, said we should increase it to make it hurt enough so that people know they have to take out a permit.
And quite honestly, there's a few other ones
That
that
would
need to be
hurt.
looked at, because Officer Buddy actually came up and gave me a few other ones that are just so outdated
Yep.
that it just, so it's probably time to look at more than just one.
Okay.
So the police can give you an update on that one, that's good.
So,
That's a
What the
$4
chief-
fine.
you know,
what the chief-
I don't know if we want to look at several all at once, or if we want to look at
I
one
think we should
specific
look at-
one.
I think we could do them in a bulk.
Yeah,
thing.
so we should, I think we should address some of these this way to,
Okay.
yeah, all right,
Good. No, good, that would be good. We're just updating as we're going along.
that's it.
Discussion on capital funds. Marcus, at our last meeting, we had discussed a police vehicle, we had also discussed a highway vehicle.
Yes.
Where are we in the
So,
process?
so
of that?
just to let you know, so over the last couple of years, as we finish each fiscal year, based on what the requests are from the department heads, especially vehicles, what we've done in the past is lease the vehicles and pay 7 or 8% of them, which is, I think it's ridiculous. So I've been putting money away to actually pay for these vehicles over time. So we have money set aside for the police car, a pickup truck for highway, a pickup truck for the wastewater treatment plant. I think that was it. Oh, and then the chief's car we're banning. So those three vehicles have been put aside to get that done. And we talked about an asphalt recycler. We put some money aside for that as well. So we put money aside for all those minor issues of purchases. The big ticket items that we have to talk about is, that was on the capital list, is the front end loader backhoe that we talked about, the sewer repair off the restaurant, which is $90,000, the storage building, $150, the radio upgrade for the police department, the fire. Remember, they have to upgrade their radios
Oh,
with the
yes,
county.
yes,
So they can
So they can
communicate with one
properly.
another. Yeah.
The fire engine, if you want to go along with that, and I put into the pickleball court, that's another option as well. So I just put some items together. We did all those items together. It's about a $1.5 million bond per se. Again, if that's what the list is, the pickleball court can be moved to something else we have an option for. I just wanted to go ideas to the board. If we did something like that, it'll be like a 3% increase over a 15-year bond. And if the board wanted to go in that direction, it'll be a 1%, 1.5% increase over 2 years and get everything done. Now, I'm throwing everything that we're listing if we want to get this thing done. So we can have more discussions. We can take some stuff out, add, maybe the board has other priorities. But I want to work on the financial aspect of it and see if the board wants to move forward to try to lessen the impact on the board, on the public as much as possible, but get the equipment necessary to move forward.
What money do we have in the capital that's been set aside so far to? Sorry, I should have asked you earlier today, sorry.
For capital projects,
And I'm, just to refresh myself, the police vehicle, is that an SUV?
yes,
Okay.
yes, it's about $60,000 for that
Okay.
vehicle, yes.
Because Dan and I were speaking, and the highway foreman's vehicle is pretty
Junk.
much,
Correct,
it's had it.
correct.
It's
all
seen better
rotted out,
days.
yes.
So I had
So that's
mentioned to
so that's
him-
the pickup truck
yeah.
that we're talking about doing.
Oh, for him, a pickup truck?
Correct. He
Because
wa- he wants a pickup-
Normally, we
And-
used to rotate our police vehicles to the highway department, so
Yeah,
what would we?
it doesn't work for what he wants to get done. So
Oh,
that's why
okay.
we talk about getting a
Alright.
pickup truck. And then if the police vehicle, we can either sell it, or we could use it for the summertime for part-time, because right now, they have to drop people off. Maybe we could use it to drop people off, the part-time
And it's
kids
ki-
to
You
do
know what,
work.
it's kinda scary, they're riding in the back
Put
of the
them in
truck.
No, that's what I'm saying. We could use the police
Yeah.
vehicle
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
use that to, for
Yeah.
weed whackers and throw
Okay.
that in the back and
Yeah.
use it around. And then
pretty
he can
big
take the
vehicle.
heavy-duty equipment in the back. So I'm trying to maximize the
Okay.
the vehicles we have.
So we wouldn't be replacing the 2011 truck then?
Correct. Correct.
The issue with the police cruiser too is you said that it's in need of a water pump, which they can't even get, so.
Correct. It's gonna be a couple
it's-
months, right, to get done. But if we get it done, then we can use it as a spare vehicle. We could order the other vehicle and get that done. But even the pickup trucks, they're talking about not being, the inventory. Those two pickup trucks might not come into early of next year.
Wow.
That's
Right.
how much of a delay.
Yeah, 'cause they're in
It's all
demand.
state contract, so we
Yeah.
have to wait for the
So
vehicle.
if we get the police car fixed, however long it would take,
Right.
we can rotate that down to the highway foreman like
Correct.
we've done in the past, and then take the newer truck to replace, the newer pickup truck to replace the 2011.
Correct,
basically.
correct,
Or-
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
even have another truck.
Exactly right. So on the capital stuff, we have the, just to give you a list, we got the Village Hall boiler, we haven't finished doing that. The old fire truck we got rid of. We have some general projects. We have the sewer treatment plant, some money. The police vehicle, I have the police vehicle in here. We have that set aside. Manhole repairs, the plow truck, which was last year, the police records retention system, the finance software, the building and code enforcement software, asphalt recycler, LED conversion. I got DPW's the pickup truck for $60,000. I already got that in there. Village Hall computer and some general stuff for like $10,000. That we have, and then plus we have the available fund balance number that we have over above the 15%, as we discussed. We have $1.4 million, and that, so we can use that as emergency, contingency, or also offset some of these other pieces of equipment. It depends on what the board would like to do. So-
Yeah, I was looking for an update because we
Yep.
discussed it and I didn't know,
Yep.
where we ended up.
So I made a list of what I think is what's still outstanding, which is
Okay.
not a bad list, to be honest with you, when you look at this stuff. And I think it's more than reasonable that we can replace all this stuff in here. The big items is a sewer treatment plant, but we got the money from Entergy to get that job done, so we don't have to touch that at all. The only thing I don't have in here is if we want to do some work at the pavilion. We got some grant money, we can work on some grant money for that as well. But these are the biggest items we have, and we can either take some money out of the fund balance, or we can borrow the money, and like I told you, so maybe a 1.5% increase in taxes over 2 years.
So it would be 3% over 2 years?
Correct.
And then after that, there's no
You're
more
done.
increase to the taxpayers?
Correct.
And that's replacing?
That's
all the
replacing
stuff you're
everything I
talking
just listed.
about? Fire truck too?
Fire truck too.
And
Did we
the
discuss a
sewer
grant
repair-
to fix the sewer?
Right, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, that application went into Dana Levenberg, with her
Yes.
grant, so we'll
that-
probably by the end of the year here,
Yeah,
something.
still
if
waiting for that to
that's-
come in, exactly.
For what, the one out on
But-
9?
Yeah,
Mhm.
High Fat Sal's over there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
What's that, what you gonna ask, Steve?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I was gonna ask.
And
And I'm saying, this is worst case scenario, that grant doesn't come through, this is
Mhm.
worst case
Right.
scenario.
so the priority is the police cruiser then?
Oh, well, we have, like I said, I have the money set aside unless the board wants to use it for something else. But I'm saying, I believe, in my personal opinion, the money set aside, we'll get to that. We have enough money left from fund balance to do all the work. And even if we borrowed the money, we're still in financially good position
They're gonna need
to
that
get
car.
everything done for the department heads that they need.
Are they still using the car?
No, I don't think he is, right? Because it keeps on overheating.
Yeah.
And it gets cold.
Yeah, yeah. So I
So
he'd have to
winter's
put,
coming.
have to
It's an
water.
issue.
Yeah, it's a maintenance issue. You have to either
All right,
put,
so it's an issue with them?
Correct.
It is a
Yeah.
continual issue?
correct.
Mhm.
All right, so
Correct.
then it is a priority.
Yeah, it
Yep.
is.
Maybe
It is.
we
Yeah,
should
it's gotta get done.
try to get authorization from us to
Yeah,
put that on where you said you had the money saved.
I'm ready to go unless the board wants to go in another direction. I can place the order tomorrow, and then we can get that running. All the other vehicles orders have been placed.
What's the turnaround on something like that?
It could be months again, I don't know. It depends how fast the inventory is available.
Well, that was why I said that, because I know everything you're talking about has a big turnaround on it.
I know, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I can go into a dealership right now, buy a car, but to buy a stuff off a state contract is almost impossible these
Yeah.
days.
Right.
So, and I know, Anthony, you had mentioned, a backhoe.
Mhm.
I had happened to be talking to some of the highway guys, and they're, I think before we look at that, we should have a definite confirmation from the highway department, because a couple people were saying something about an excavator and a skid steer instead of the backhoe. So we just want to make sure we understand exactly what they need down there.
At this point, we can have that discussion, but I think if the vehicles
Those
we're
things
talking
are
about.
important,
Yeah,
yeah,
those are the ones
of
that I would
course.
like to move forward on, and
Okay.
then we can move.
And
then
we
I
can
will-
work on that.
And then on the other list, including the fire truck and everything off the list, include the backhoe, front end loader, whatever you wanna do, we can actually budget it and plan accordingly.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you,
Alrighty.
Marcus.
Game
Thank
plan.
you, thank you.
Thank you. So, next is public hearing, it'll be at the November meeting on parking spaces at the November 8th meeting.
I just sent an email reminding I did a little survey, well, the building department did a little survey of parking spaces around the village.
Right.
This came up, it was very interesting, I don't know if anybody else went there, but this came up because our code requires a 10 by 20 foot parking space,
Yeah.
which no one in the village complies with, which was very interesting. So,
Again,
Standard
you're-
that
you're
we
looking
use
at-
is
You're looking at
told you
something
this.
that's been
Yes,
on the
you did.
books since.
It's 8.5 by 18 is the standard.
correct, and it's interesting, some of the parking spaces in the village in some locations are actually smaller than that. So, we would like to standardize to something that's more reasonable. I know the public hearing will be in the next meeting,
Yeah.
but I want to try to, especially Stephanie, she's not here, she needs to know what the guidelines are, so we can happily have that discussion and hopefully get it approved, so. And I think Anthony has the best expertise on that, and I think that'll be a good way to do it. There'll
I mean,
be,
it is a standard. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we do in all part.
and that makes sense.
Depends on the angle or straight in. I mean, the angle probably be 19 foot, but straight in is 8.5 by 18.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's
So it'll be
looking at-
one property owner that will not be in compliance with that. It's actually lower than that, but it'll be a pre-existing
It's
non-conforming.
not us, is it?
No, it's not us.
Not us.
We will comply with that
What's
one.
our code again on the width?
10 by 20,
20 feet?
yep,
Or 10 by
10 by 20. Nobody
That
complies
was
with
when
it.
everybody used to drive those big Cadillacs. You know, and then we'd,
Back in the 60s?
Some people have SUVs, so those people are gonna have to
Still
find a bigger
applies.
space somewhere.
That's right.
Also, so I mentioned we had, the donuts and cider with the mayor, and, we had a really good turnout. Bob was there because Bob wanted to speak to the beautification committee. Several of those members came. So I'm gonna turn this over to Bob, because I had given that to him as a project to do. And we also have copies of what it looks like here.
Well, I wanted to be part of it because I keep trying to give the beautification committee more work. They're not busy enough.
Oh, my God.
But, you know,
They're
I
so
know we talked
good.
about putting the entrance signs into the village for a long time. We wanted to get their feel for what they thought we should do with planting around it, which they don't want any planting around it. Because there's a lot of maintenance for them, and grass is easier to maintain, or stone, or something like that we can do. They like the signs. The only thing that one member did suggest was that we put the incorporation date on the sign. So, I think it's time that we do that. Nice little entrance signs on Albany Post Road by the Lake Street across from the high school. And I guess through our discussions, we decided probably the best spot to do it on the Peekskill end is where it used to be. Because there's really no good spot to put it anywhere but there. Because if you bring it to Blakely Avenue, you're talking about a lot of underground wiring, and, there just isn't many good spots over there. We talked about Lens Cove as a board here, actually, what we're gonna do down the Peekskill side off of Broadway. And there's a few spots there, we talked about doing it possibly on the right-hand side, you come around the curve, just past the Bullards, at Lens Cove, in between the Bullards and the main entrance to Lens Cove. And we didn't really talk much about doing Verplank, we didn't really think it was something necessary to put there. So that was really the crux of the conversation regarding the signs. So we did get some prices for those signs, I believe one was installed, 48, I believe. And what was the other one, 53?
53.
Installed.
$5,000 range, yeah.
So, it's gonna take a while to get them made, we just have to decide as a board who we're gonna have make them, and if we're gonna go forth with that project. And when that was discussed, I know that we discussed at the last meeting, Dan brought it up, as a matter of fact, about maybe talking to some of our bigger businesses in the village, about maybe sponsoring the signs. And part of the conversation came, what would we do for them with those signs? Would we put sponsored by, or Holtec, or whatever company it might be? They weren't really too thrilled about that idea. So then we did bring up the idea that I brought about having the electronic sign in front. And I said, maybe that would be a good idea. Instead of having them donate towards these signs, have them donate towards the electric sign, which is gonna cost us, how much, Marcus, was the prices? 20,000?
Yes.
Not counting the electric. And we can put it on that screen that rotates with all our messages.
Their logo or
A thank you to
whatever.
whatever companies may do this.
That's good.
So that was the thought process with that. And the only other thing I really spoke to them about was we talked briefly about the trees in the circle, and just to let everyone know, I mean, it didn't even come to my attention for the longest time. I don't know, they've been going for so long, but in front of the El Condor restaurant, there used to be 2 trees there.
Yep.
Those trees. I call them those trees, 'cause I'm not fond of those trees. They're hard to keep looking nice. And now that they're not there, the building looks nice, it looks, the village, the circle looks cleaner. And the building, the beautification committee would like, if we do take trees down, not the replacement, put some kind of planters in and let them decorate them. Their feelings were that the distance from the curbs to the buildings themselves are only 8 feet. So what kind of tree you're gonna put there is really gonna be manageable, and how would we do that? And I know Anthony brought up a good idea when we do replace these trees as they die off. We've already, I think 5 at least have died off right now, which is probably a third of the trees that are out there. I did see that the highway department cut one down across from Fat Sal's.
Yeah.
That's got a problem. So they recommended the same thing Anthony said, you know, where the trees were, fill it with concrete, and that could be their base for their planters. So, you know, it was a productive meeting for me, talking to them and getting their thoughts and ideas about it. So I'd like the board to consider at least going forth with the signs. Whatever we have to do that. I'd like them to also, I know, Marcus, did you get any more prices for the electronic signs?
I've been waiting for
got
one
one?
more price, and I'm gonna give them a call.
Okay.
And it's Signs Inc., and have not gone back to me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Do they do electronic signs? Yeah,
Yes.
they do.
Mhm.
Okay, and the price, one of the prices we got was from the library, correct?
Yes.
And that's,
that's
if you go by the library, Henry Goodson Library in Kingsbury Road, it's not an in-your-face sign. It gets everything done that I think they're trying to do. I think we can do that here too. So that's, I'd like to thank you guys in advance for potentially getting these signs done. Thank you.
Yeah, it's time to replace them. The other ones, you know, Bob, you
And
took
as far
them
as
down.
the trees go, I think we should have, you know, I brought in arborists, look at those trees in the past too. They look bad. They're not diseased, the green's not a disease on them. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm not gonna try to say they're bad when they're not. You know, but some of the branches, when they do come up, you can start seeing hollow in the middle of them, so.
Right.
It's something that, you know.
They're not big fans of rock salt.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
they're so
Rock
close to the
salt,
road
it's
that-
trees
Yeah.
hitting them, or trucks hitting them and breaking the branch up as they go by, you know?
Rock salt.
You know, and they always, you know how trees are, they lean towards the sun, so they're starting to overhang in front of the barber shop on Bark Avenue. They're overhanging the road, and they get hit by trucks a lot.
Calcium chloride.
All that stuff.
Everything,
All that
yeah.
stuff.
So, the circle was done over, not that I remember exact dates, and that's when the trees were planted. It was, I think about 1995, 94, 95. So that, you know, the whole circle with the pavers and everything was done then. So that's how old those trees are. So Bob, what are your thoughts about,
The trees?
yeah, like when to take those down?
I think we do it when it's the best time for the highway department to take them down, where they're not busy doing other things, you know. It doesn't take long to take them down, they have to stump grind them. I will go back to just, I really think if you really take a step back and you look at what El Condor looks like, it's a nice building. If we clear out the trees from these buildings, we're gonna actually show off the buildings, not show our trees. That's just my opinion. I know some people are tree people. I like trees too, but I think they're right for the right spot. I think if we're gonna, you know, move in the right direction in the village, we have to really enhance that village circle a lot better than it is right now. And I think that, personally, I think that would be a step in the right direction. And the beautification committee is more than willing to do whatever we can
Yeah,
do
they're so
to
good.
really make that look good. They've done a good job with the circle,
Yeah.
and I think they're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Excuse me, what's the word I'm looking for? They're kind of like, almost waiting for that to happen so they can really put their little mark in that, in those areas too. They like the challenge of doing that stuff, and they're good at doing it. Becky's very good, she got a good eye. Cheryl's good, they're all good at it.
Yeah,
And they have a good crew.
yeah. We're
So-
lucky. We're very fortunate to have
Right.
them. So, you know, later on, the board can decide what type of planters to put there, maybe in the spring if they want to do, if you guys want to do something different, so. Or they can put those planters.
Trees down there?
If I'm being asked that question, I'd say yes. But it's not my decision by myself. I don't wanna, you know, I'm not doing this to spite people or anything like that. I just think
No,
it's,
not.
I personally think you'll see a lot, the circle will look a lot different when they're going, no doubt about it. I think it's different in a good way. Anyone else's opinion on that? I'd like to hear them.
Are the trees dead?
They're not dead, but they're damaged at best.
They've been out of shape. I know you guys, the highway department over the years have tried to trim them up and they're
We've
just.
tried a lot of things, so.
Well, we can't pour, I mean, you're not gonna get to the concrete till next season anyway, so.
Right.
I mean, if you wanna take the trees down now, put planters there, then I I guess take them down.
Well, that would be a process, then it does come down, like Teresa said, we have to decide what kind of planters we want there, which.
Yeah, I think
would
until we
require-
know
Yeah,
what we're gonna
I
do
think-
there,
I
if they're
think
not
what we-
dead,
I
then
think
I
what we
would leave
did,
them.
the other night with them, meeting with them, you know, they were asked to come back with some ideas of what kind of planters they would do, so, you know, I think it's probably worth waiting to hear what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's have,
think
a-
it-
let's have a
It's in
plan in place when
Right.
we're down, we're ready to go
Yeah.
right away, so it's probably better to go through the winter,
Exactly.
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
That way we can, in the spring, they can get right to it.
And then lean heavily towards what they recommend,
Right.
how I feel.
They're the ones doing the work.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have two designs on the sign, so if you guys wanna review this, what one were they interested in, Bob? I forgot.
I don't think they had ever really pointed out to which one they liked the best,
Okay,
to be honest with you.
so then, you know,
I mean,
just
I
wanted
like-
their
I
input.
like the one that's got the white.
I like the white legs too, the white
The white
post.
The white
Yeah,
one.
I
Okay,
did
with the
too.
gold inlay.
Yeah, I would have to,
This
I would
one-
have to
I'd like
agree
that
with
one.
that.
Was this,
That's ugly. This one's
what
ugly.
you sent
Yeah.
to the board, Marcus, was that an actual design that the sign company did? Because the way I read it, the sign company provided what a sign may look like, and then they just attached the Village of Buchanan.
Right.
Right.
They weren't saying, yeah,
Yeah, I can get proposals, apple to apple comparison, if you like the white legs,
right.
gold color,
Right.
blue color, just let me know what you want.
So that's a pre-existing sign, so it's
That
probably
one.
got PVC posts,
Right.
and the signs are anchored to the PVC.
Well, I believe this one here, that doesn't have the white post, is really, they just threw it together quick and
That's
gave us.
what-
gave-
that's what
I
I'm
don't
asking.
believe that they
Right.
intended the blue post personally.
Right.
That's correct.
Because
I don't think they
that's
actually designed that, they just took it from something else.
That was by,
Wasn't
the
that,
blue.
that's similar to what we had, that one? though,
Yeah,
wasn't
that-
it?
that's exactly what we
Yeah,
have. It's just
that's what I
something
thought. I
That's
mean,
what I
it's,
think,
it's
yeah.
That's
been,
by,
They just
Okay.
copy what we had before, that's what.
okay.
So what I
Alright.
can do is, if you tell me what you guys want, I can go back to both companies, get an apple to apple comparison. They're probably
Tell them to
gonna-
put some white legs on it, we'll take a look
Yeah.
at it.
I do like the gold panels on top of John.
Yeah, the
That
white
looks
post,
nicer.
gold.
And they last a long time, they're a special material that lasts through the night.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking to the microphone, sorry.
Yeah.
But I do like that better also. So a combination of that with the white legs and the gold panel on top.
Just write it down the way you want it, and I'll
Well,
take
it's not
care of that
me,
tomorrow.
I'm not making this decision by myself, you know?
Everybody seems to like it, what
No,
you're
I'm,
saying.
yeah,
I think
we're
if we
listening,
have that
we're
on
listening.
this.
I like the
We
PVC
always-
legs.
I
though,
agree
because
with
it's
treating it
maintenance,
all the
you know,
time.
kinda-
Yeah.
Did you,
That's,
you mentioned the established date, was that something also? you
Yeah.
Oh,
wanted
yes,
to
the
add to that?
incorporation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incorporation.
they're established.
Whatever you want, write it down.
That would go,
but you know what? There's that one that has that little round attachment to the top.
Yeah, you can do that.
Maybe
Well,
that
that's
would
what we're
be
looking
nice
for.
there.
Yeah, that's what we like.
Right here.
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah,
usually
maybe
put
that.
you put-
I don't know, I'm just saying. It
You
could-
don't have to
could
put
look
this here.
down the
Draw up a
bottom
couple
somewhere.
samples, tell them what you
Not that
want.
it's
you
better
know,
up
If you
top.
wanna have,
Yeah.
if you wanna have a
Yeah.
beautiful
The way
place to live
that's
and
laid
work,
out, I
right here,
think
you can
is
put down the
more
commercial.
appealing.
Yeah.
I'll-
The guy will make a
I like the
sample,
gold
and that's
one.
it.
Yeah,
Write down what you want, we'll take care of it.
right.
Okay, good, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so was there anything else we needed to discuss, Marcus? Oh, Peter wanted to have a discussion with the board over an issue that has come up.
Talk about it
Now,
now?
or are we doing that?
Are we doing that now, or are we doing it after?
I don't know, but how are we
I
going
would-
into executive?
But
It's-
it might be, it might
Could be litigation?
Yeah, it'll be,
All right,
we might get a couple lawsuits, yes.
Executive?
all right, so we'll go into executive session to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
You're welcome, Peter.
Thank you. I don't speak in the
Any
mic.
comments from the floor? Is that where we're at?
Yes, let's open it up, and then we can have our comments. Does anyone have comments from the floor? We'll start with you guys first tonight.
No, but you wrote down that those robocalls you cannot access on voicemail. They don't stay on the voicemail.
I'm not sure.
Any of them. From the
It-
town, from you.
It doesn't record onto people's voicemails?
Not mine.
The town does.
The talent goes on
Just
myself,
me.
it goes on my voicemail.
It goes on my voicemail.
Well, you're lucky. We're not.
Oh,
Yeah, wow.
sorry.
What about,
That's strange.
am I the only one? You get on, anybody else get on their
Oh,
voicemail?
I
yeah,
do.
you get it
I
all the
do.
time. Yeah.
But is it on your cell or?
On my cell, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm using my home phone.
Oh, that's.
Oh,
it comes on my home phone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't record. So
Yeah, I
don't
get it
know
on my
if you
cell.
have an emergency.
Well, that's not good
Yeah.
then, you know? If we're not getting out to the residents the information, that's not good.
On the home
So
number.
put it on your cell. Put the number onto your cell.
I don't have voicemail on my cell because I don't want anybody to call me.
Oh, my goodness.
There you
Well,
go.
then how the hell do you expect to get any messages?
Because they know my home number. You wanna text me, you can text me.
All right.
Don't call me.
Is there some way, Cindy, you can look at the system can we input other numbers in the system, or I just don't remember how the code red works. So Eileen, maybe get to Cindy and give her your home number, because then she could add that into the system.
But she has that, she's saying it just doesn't record.
It just doesn't
That's what
record.
it comes in on,
Right.
And you don't get a message at all.
but if I'm working and I can't pick it up, there's no message.
Okay.
But Eileen, if you put it to your cell, you'll get a text. So then you can read it. And then you don't have to hear Teresa's voice.
That's right. It's even better that way.
Yeah, I mean, the town robocalls, even from the high school, we
Yeah.
get texts,
Yeah.
emails, phone calls.
It's good.
Yeah.
They all go to voicemail. I just Eileen, she's the only one who's not getting anything.
I know.
But what were the robocalls that were made recently?
Cell, so.
They were,
That goes into the code
paving?
red system that.
but is it for the entire village? Because
Yeah.
I didn't receive any of them. I heard that there was a few, one on the paving.
Today?
No.
You didn't get the one today?
We need to do a good push to get people
Yeah.
to sign up for the code red. I mean, supposedly, if I do the area,
That's what I was wondering.
any
if it was
number
just-
is supposed to come up, but there's only like 1,100 numbers that show. So we really have to do a good push
Push
to
that out,
get it
yeah.
up there, yeah.
So we do try when there's road work, or there's a situation going on, or there's Buchanan Day, we don't try to use it excessively, and I am going to apologize right now to the people on Bannon Avenue and also on Broadway. I was not aware when the road work was starting, so the code red didn't go out, so I apologize for that. If there was any confusion or any problems, we definitely don't mean to do that. You know, we work with the residents, and I apologize for that.
And that's why we sent one for Burke Court, which is
Right.
starting tomorrow.
Right. Burke Court, yes.
Right. That's what was on the code red tonight.
That's correct.
So we have a few more roads to do yet, but we're getting there. So there's no comments from the floor, okay? I'm sorry, David, I forgot to ask him while he was here, the discussion about the master plan and the Indian Point zoning, when we're going to start working on that. So Marcus, if you could contact him, and I don't know the board members' availability once a month,
And
did he
correct me if I'm wrong,
mention?
I thought the discussion was that we're not gonna do the master plan, just do the rezoning.
Right.
Well, you know what?
That's what I remember.
I
It's-
understand
it's-
what you're saying, and I
It's
do
different, that's
understand that, but what concerned me is going through how many times AMS said tonight, well, we went according to your master plan, we went according to your master plan, and the master plan's outdated. So does the board just feel that we'll just work on the Indian Point rezoning, the 240 acres plus?
That was my
Is that-
understanding from the
okay.
last
Yeah,
meeting.
that was
That's how
pretty-
David
Okay.
put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
And that's what he's been working on since that meeting a couple weeks ago, so that's
Right.
what he's been working on.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he'll get back to us
Oh,
when he's
yeah.
ready to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna say, I'm a little bit ahead of time, but Sharon sends out the newsletters, and they go out the beginning of December or very late November. So we will have our Christmas tree lighting this year. It will be the first Sunday, as we always do, in December at 6 PM. So I know last year, some of the board members chipped in to raffle off a Christmas tree, and then there were some wreaths donated. So, just let Sharon know, and hopefully we'll have a new recreation supervisor soon that can, take control of that, and what else? They're over at Indian Point, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, I want the residents to understand, there was a decommissioning milestone that was reached on October 16th. All of the fuel that was in the pools is now on the pad secured. I contacted Certainteed to see if they would give a tour to the board and to understand what's going on over there, their operation, and what they're doing. So I will pick out several dates, so anyone on the board that would like to do that, please let me know, so we can set that up. It's from 10:30 to like 1:30.
And
There's a
just-
lot going on over
Yeah,
there,
and just to
so.
make the board aware, Peter tried to ask for the PowerPoint presentation or whatever they're doing so that we can have information provided to the board. We haven't not received anything back from Certainty, so so we haven't received any documentation of what their plans are.
Okay.
So I just want to let the board know and the public know, but I know there was a meeting, I don't know how many people attended, so, and Peter asked for the background information, so we understand, but we have not received anything back, so. that's
Okay.
what-
But they haven't filed anything, any permits or anything like that?
No, nothing.
So
was
we don't
presen-
know if
nothing-
they're-
Nothing was presented to us prior to their meeting.
But they filed for the DEC, so
To-
they,
to
they
be
have
able
filed
to-
with the DEC, but have not filed anything with the village.
But that meeting was just was basically focused on the impact it has on Verplank. And, I mean, what they're going to do as proactively to solve the problem. So I'm sure that if they come into the village with, I mean, they'd have to come in with some kind of plans or site plan.
Yep.
Correct.
I mean, I think that they had to appease the town and the Verplank residents now and the DEC.
Yeah, I
I
think.
can't see them going forward with any kind of construction without coming to us.
I don't know.
Not according to what they
Yeah,
said.
that's not what I understood at all. It's not even close.
They got a new piece of equipment
They
and a
want a
new
piece of-
building and a new concrete pad. And we asked them to provide that information, to see if they need permits, but they have not submitted any information.
But that meeting wasn't about that, was it? It was about the.
Eileen was
the
there.
screening.
Eileen, why don't you
Eileen,
come
come
up?
on
See-
up,
see what's-
Eileen.
see
What do
the
you
witness
remember?
Of the meeting.
So Peter, you don't know anything about them pouring concrete over there? So you have the fact that they poured concrete?
No,
No.
we're not.
No,
Please
no,
don't.
no, no,
Let me
no,
speak,
no.
and then I can
Anthony,
testify.
there's no poured concrete. Right now, at the end, you'll see my notes. It'll say, not certain pouring concrete. The question of the concrete pad came up because there was a union member that attended that meeting, and I don't know who it was. He questioned whether these jobs for pouring the concrete pad would be given to the union. And at that point, they said, well, we're not sure we're going to have a concrete pad. This building, this A-frame, is very big, large, huge. And the screening goes from where the concrete pad would be up to a certain level. No one at that meeting, no guys asked, what's the screening? How high is the screening? Because the dust mitigation is still not corrected. If there's high winds, they will shut it down or do whatever they have to do to stop the wind from taking the dust. But it's an open A-frame from what it looked like on the picture. But it's big, and I'm not
What
quite...
is it connected to? There's no footings?
Let me,
That was the other question. I don't have a clue
I think
where the
Peter has
footings are,
some info.
because they just showed this picture of this A-frame, but they said they're not sure. When somebody said, are you going to, how does this work with Buchanan? And they said, oh, we will be coordinating.
And it wasn't just the dust mitigation, they brought in a piece of new equipment, a grinder or something, to bring in more recycled material.
Yeah, I heard about it,
Which
yeah.
is, again, a site plan modification, which took up to the planning board. So Peter tried to
Well, it's a
reach,
mobile piece of equipment.
that's what they say, but it'll be bolted supposedly into the concrete, and then a building's
No.
gonna go around it. Oh, it's different, okay, that's
It's
not.
it's a mobile piece of equipment.
Oh, okay, that's not the way it's.
You know, the building is not gonna be mobile though, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Peter's over there shaking his head like he's got the answers. I don't know why he's not sharing with us.
I have shared with everyone.
Peter,
Read my
if you
emails.
would like to
If
speak,
no one's
yes.
read my emails in the
Yes,
past week and a half.
I have, I have.
No, I forwarded everything.
No, I read the
to,
letter. I
you know,
saw it. Yeah,
I
he
s-
sent it out to me today.
Yeah, I sent everything I picked up there so that you could be informed of what they said. But
Yeah.
they rely on the DEC as to how they advertised, that they were allowed to have a public meeting, and that it seemed that they were going under the guise of reviews and permits from the DEC and not from any place else. So that's basically what it was.
Well,
Oh, there is tomorrow. There is a VRA meeting if anybody wants to go.
Yeah, I saw that on
Um,
Facebook.
That was on Facebook also at the Little Red Schoolhouse. So you can see if anybody has any comments. Warren Smith was there, Jim Bell was there, Charlie Craven was there,
Chris Fargo, probably.
Bernie Voorhees and his wife Stephanie.
There's been a lot of
I don't
people on
know
top of
all the
that.
people, but it wasn't very crowded. And the complaint was that they didn't have the notification in time.
Marcus.
The Verplank Residents
my packet.
Association.
They meet at the schoolhouse.
Verplank, V like Victor, V like Verplank.
Residents
Yeah,
Association.
so that's tomorrow night, just in case anybody wants to show up.
Oh, for a plank meeting, oh.
Yeah, at the schoolhouse, yeah.
That's why I thought they was confused.
Okay.
Bill.
Yes. Peter, did you want to comment on anything with that, or?
Well, talk about your conversation, that way.
I could do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
you have a
okay.
conversation.
Appreciate it.
When I was enlightened to the meeting that we weren't informed about or what they were trying to do on the Certainty site, Mr. Woolweaver, the vice president of the site, I believe it's his title, he contacted us on Indigenous Peoples Day, left a message. We played phone tag, and then there was a rash of emails.
Wait, excuse me, what did you say?
Indigenous Peoples Day, Columbus Day.
Columbus
Yeah,
He
okay.
called on a holiday and
That's
left
a
a
new
message on my
terminology.
We
phone.
I
understand
didn't realize what
Columbus
day
Day.
you were talking about.
No, it's renamed. So I put it in my email. So, long and short of that, I question why had they not approached the Village of Buchanan Planning Board, because it's a site amendment. There was a mention of wind screening and some other things, nothing about a meeting, just wind screening. And I was like, well, what wind screening are you referring to? They're talking about a very large project that's going to perimeter the property, he explained to me. And we're talking telephone pole height wind screening, and that could be up to 18 feet. He says, oh, we only saw the Village of Buchanan Code where you needed a fence permit. No, 6 foot is our max over that. You need planning board approval. It's a commercial site.
And of course, without a piece of the property.
$800,000 was the number I was given. I explained that none of that makes sense. What about this piece of equipment in this article? Recycling equipment. It was called a roto chopper, but it's mobile. I said, okay, so tell me, I've asked you for information on this equipment. Describe it. Well, it goes on a pad. Well, now it's on a pad. Okay, so why is it mobile and it needs to be on a pad? Then it's going to have an A-frame around it. Okay, and then we need wind screening around the property, so this machine is going to create excessive amounts of dust, obviously, according to it. He needs wind screening for. So I said, it doesn't sound mobile to me, which again, I put in an email and I sent to all the board members. So basically, the conversation of what Eileen told me today, and what I was understanding after the conversation with Mr. Woolweaver, they needed the DEC environmental justice approval to add this piece of equipment to their air mitigation permit system that they have with New York State, and then they would have the ability to purchase it. But nobody gave them permission to put it on the property to purchase it. So why are we circumventing the procedure of the planning board and the site amendment and the pad and the building and the screening to buy a piece of equipment that you haven't gotten permission to install? But it's mobile. So I'm very confused about the mobile, and he danced around the subject. I said, how is it mobile if it's in a building on a pad? Why, if it's movable, why does it need a pad or a building? But then there are going to be more pads.
So to clarify the situations, we asked, give us the information.
That's what I
and
asked
We can
for.
decide if you have to go to a planning board, so we're still waiting for the information.
Okay.
And then Eileen brought up the point that now they're only doing screening around this small A-frame assembly they're doing. Well, that's
Well,
not.
we don't know.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
what I'm saying. I
point.
don't
We
know
don't know.
anything, so that's where I am. I'm in the dark.
Okay, that's not good. That's not good when the building inspector's in the dark. The only other thing I have, this Saturday, October 28th, is our trunk or treat. It starts at the Pavilion at 11 o'clock sharp. It goes up First Street, left onto Tate and to the Village Hall, so bring your costumes. There's, I think, 13 or 14 people now that have volunteered. Most of them are the beautification committee. And then it will end up at Village Hall, and the police department will be there at Village Hall. So anyone that's around, please come. Okay, what are the board, oh, I'm sorry, Marcus.
Oh, no,
I'm
quick
sorry.
little update to the village board. The sewer pipelining job has been completed.
Oh, good.
The good news is that when we had the last rain after the project was done, we measured the same amount of rainfall from the prior rainfall, and we got a $30,000 reduction in the water coming into our sewer treatment.
$30,000 a gallon.
30,000 gallons.
When you're financial, you
Numbers,
always think
those
about,
numbers.
you think about
So
money.
30,000 gallons of
Oh,
less
wow.
water coming
That's
into the
great.
system, which
That's great.
is very good information so I want to share that with the village board. Regarding the sewer issue next to the restaurant, We did apply for the grant, which is good, but we also, George finished applying to the Department of Health for approval as well. So we're moving forward in that direction to get
Good.
Department of Health approval to get the work done. And also he got the DOT approval to work in the right of way of the DOT. So that's moving forward. The paving projects, like I said, we'll start working on Burke Court tomorrow. The only roads remaining after that is Gallagher and one more, Henry.
Henry,
And
yeah,
Henry.
small section.
So Henry might be done, according to George. They may not be able to go to Gallagher, but there's more concrete work. And if that happens, they'll come back in the spring and finish the job. But we're trying to get it all done this year, weather dependent, so.
Well, if we get weather like we had this week, we might be okay.
I know Sunday will be
80
80
degrees
degrees.
Saturday.
I wish, yeah, if it's 80 degrees during the next week, then we can probably get everything done. So just a quick update on those couple of projects.
Good.
Thanks,
All
Marcus.
right, thank you. Anybody else, any other board members have anything they want to discuss? No? Okay. Nobody in the audience, so we are going to go into executive session for